Hello everyone, my name's Rick Simpson, and this is a medicine that basically anyone can produce at home using everyday utensils like a rice cooker, coffee filters, and things of that nature. You know, the problem here is the growers are not taking out the males. The bud material is seeded. If the males were taken out, the buds would be much bigger and they would have more resin on them. You know, I'm not saying that varieties like this do not have medicinal value. On average, from what I've seen now, bud such as this is only producing maybe 70 to 80 grams of oil out of a kilo. Now, if this was high quality, it could be producing 175, 200, even more than 200 grams per dry kilo. And they should be growing strains, you know, that are heavy indicas, the heavy sedative sleepy indica strains. That's what you need, you know, for healing. But unfortunately, in many of these countries, they're still growing a lot of sativas. Now, sativas are highly energizing, and that is not the effect that I want for someone who is dying of cancer or has a serious illness. Even though the right cannabinoids are still in the sativas to cure cancer, it's like I said, trying to use the sativa can present many problems. If you go to these seed catalogs or online companies, you can see the descriptions of the seeds they sell. And often they'll tell you that, you know, the THC levels, and they'll tell you some of the medicinal aspects of the seeds you're purchasing. This is what, 100 grams?
Yeah, 100 grams.
So I'm expecting that this will probably only produce maybe 7, maybe 8 grams of oil at the most. I needed to find a simple way that I could show the public how they could heal themselves. A lot of people have asked me about, like, does this process achieve decarboxylation, which is very important because you're rotating the molecules within these cannabinoids to the delta 9 position. That's the most medicinal position. And I'm happy to say that one of the top experts in the world, Dr. Paul Hornby, he actually sampled my oils. He produced my oils following my instructions, and he said that this simple method achieves perfect decarboxylation. You know, if you have a loved one that's suffering and dying, and even if there is a law in place, you know, as far as I'm concerned, if I had a loved one dying, I would grow the plants, bring them to full growth, and then I would produce the oil and save their life. Because the effectiveness of this medication is just beyond belief. This is alcohol, so all we got to do is really just dampen the material. Usually I just dampen it and I break it up, you know, with my hands. And what you're doing is you're washing the medicinal resins that are on this plant material. You're washing it off with the solvent. That's all you're doing. It's a very simple thing. And then, like, usually I wash it twice. Now, the amount of solvent you use, it depends on the amount of material you're working with. But like back in Canada, I was doing a pound, about 450 grams. I was using 8 to 9 liters of solvent to do 2 washes. If you did a third wash, you might get 2 or 3 grams of very low-grade oil. The first wash takes off 75 to 80% of the available cannabinoids. The second wash basically takes off everything that's of benefit that's left. Yeah, throw a little bit more solvent in there, will you, Vicky? Okay, that's good. That's funny. Well, that should be enough to do the first wash. And you want to break the bud up. There's many different simple ways, but you know, I just wanted to show the public that you can actually, you know, create medicines right in your own home that'll heal diseases that the medical system actually says is incurable. You know, here's a way you can help yourself. You know, this is a natural right for us to all grow this plant and use it as a medicine because we were free to do this for thousands of years. This plant has never harmed anyone, and it just happens to make the greatest medicine on earth. All right. I've used ether, I've used naphtha, and I've used isopropyl alcohol. I've never used acetone, but I've been told that acetone would actually work very well too. And the other thing people should know about solvents, when you have the proper solvent, it should be clear like water to begin with, and then when you put it on your finger, it should evaporate in 30 to 45 seconds, leaving no solvent residue or no residues, that from additives or anything. Actually, alcohol is not quite as good as something like benzene for making the oil because it has the wrong polarity. With alcohol, you see, it dissolves some of the chlorophyll off the plant material, and it makes the oil, made with alcohol usually come out darker than it would if you had used benzene. People often go on and they say, oh, well, this method, they're using poison solvents. Well, all solvents are poison, but the simple truth is these oils are so anti-poisonous. If there was any solvent residues that posed a threat, the oils would neutralize any harmful effects. So, I've been eating this oil myself for 14 years. I think by now, if there was any harm or anything detrimental, I would have found it with others. This is an answer for, the suffering masses, the people that don't have the money to play the games the medical system wants them to play. If you got lots of solvent, you could do a third wash. In some cases, you might find it beneficial, but anything from the third wash, I would only use maybe on skin conditions. I would use the first and second wash for internal conditions, the weaker oils for skin conditions. It's just an ordinary everyday coffee filter. We've had wonderful results using these. It stops any of the plant material and anything unwanted, from getting into the oil. I found that people put so much trust in the medical system. Like the doctors tell them they must take chemo and radiation. And sadly, most people will do what their doctors are telling them. But when you look at chemo and radiation, it's really nothing more than madness. This is not a viable, or a sensible treatment to treat, somebody that's suffering from cancer. And when you hear people are dying, like, oh, well, they took chemo and then they got pneumonia and died. Well, the reason they got pneumonia is because they have no immune system left because the chemo killed it, and radiation does the same. You have a much better chance of being cured completely with this, and it only takes usually 60 grams of oil. But if you've been damaged by chemo and radiation, then I strongly suggest that people ingest 180 grams, 3 times as much, to undo that damage that the chemo and radiation have left behind. And then once your body is back in a state of good health, then you just drop your dosage back to, a drop at night before bed. About an hour before bed, just put a drop on your finger. You could take 2 drops. It's really up to the person themselves and what they're comfortable in taking. This is a medicine that you can't overdose and die from. If you take too much, all you do is sleep. You wake up unharmed. So it's not like other pharmaceutical medications or anything of that nature. Usually, like a maintenance dose would be 1 to 2 grams a month. You're not talking about a lot of oil, and that just protects your body. It acts as a preventative medicine. Even if you don't have cancer or anything else wrong with you, at present, take a full 60-gram treatment, detox your body, bring your body back to a state of good health, then just drop it back to a maintenance dose, and away you go for the rest of your life. If you want to put your trust in medicine, this is a medicine you can trust, and there's no danger involved. We just changed the filters to speed this up a little bit, but you can see the sand, and other contaminants, that the filter catches. Okay, I guess we got it all in here. All right, bring up the rice cooker. So we just pour this in. See how golden it is? The rice cooker has, like I said, 2 heat settings. So we just put the rice cooker on the high heat setting. And this process is safe if it's done properly. Because what you're doing, you're always aiming, a flow of air right at the rice cooker. And, the air is passing over the top, and that carries the fumes away, and that's fine. This oil is something we can rely on. There's well over 100 different cannabinoids. And most of them I don't think most of them even have names yet. It's that synergetic effect of all these different cannabinoids working together. That's when the magic happens. But to single out one specific cannabinoid, I don't think that's right at all. You need them all working together, and that's the reason I've seen such wonderful results, with most of the oils I made, because they were all very high in THC, around 90%, or even better, and then usually CBD content 2 to 4%, CBN 2% or something. A lot of these cannabinoids are just trace. They're only there in a trace, like 1/100th of 1%. And then as soon as you make the oil, just find somebody with a skin cancer, a diabetic ulcer that won't heal, a third-degree burn, or psoriasis. Any of these diseases. Put the oil on, put a bandage on, leave it 3 days, remove it, change the oil every 3 days, fresh bandage, watch what happens. It heals at such an accelerated rate that it's truly mind-boggling. I mean, I've seen my own hand, this one here, third-degree burns. From the time I burned it, 11 days later, completely healed, all just pink skin, and even the hair follicles all grew back. And I'll take it back up to high heat to see if we can get any more bubbling activity going on here. I think it's done too. There's no bubbling activity. I'm holding a high heat on. There's nothing happening there. I would say this oil is definitely done. So at this point, usually all I do is just prop the rice cooker up on something so the oil all runs down to one spot. Okay, I think this is ready to draw. So let's draw this up. Now, this is like a beginner's dose, so every 8 hours. Early in the morning, mid-afternoon, and about an hour before you go to bed. Then after 4 days, you double the amount you're taking. Just double your dosage 3 times a day. 4 days later, double your dosage again. So you would take this dosage 3 times a day. And the strange thing is, if you took this dosage right off the bat, it would knock you down for many, many hours because this is a very sedative substance. But usually within a month, your body becomes accustomed to, and builds up a tolerance. And other people, even though you're taking these big doses of oil, other people don't even know you're taking it. There's no sign, you're not high. But now if you take that much oil in the beginning, yeah, you'll get as high as a kite. So, there's a reason, for me to tell people to take their time, build up their tolerance properly. But in some cases where people are very close to death, break the rules. Just take as much oil as you possibly can, as quickly as you can into your body as medicine. And in reality, you're not impaired when you're taking this medication because it does not affect your motor skills. Unlike alcohol and pharmaceuticals, it's not going to harm you. You will not become an addict. And the faster you can take it, the faster you will heal. For God's sakes, lose your fear of this medication. There's nothing to be afraid of. And I'm sure that you'll all have wonderful results, and especially when you become oil makers yourselves, because literally you become your own doctor, and then all the mystery in medicine just fades away, because now you've got something that does work on basically any condition, and it's something that you can produce yourself.